Welcome to Mild Moodcast, a podcast meant to explore mental health through the lens of another human hanging on by a thread. I'm Bianca, a licensed mental health counselor, here to chat about the topics we don't get enough of. So grab your headphones and let's dive into the crazy world of mental health. It's going to be a wild ride. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Mild Moodcast. Today's topic is suddenly self-aware mental health in your 30s. I just want to say, if you took a chance to listen to my intro today, it's finally different. I am officially, and have been for some days now, a licensed mental health counselor. I can't even explain how incredible it is to have finally made it here. Oh gosh, it's so rewarding. You know, you get the degree, you have to take a test, depending on what school you go to. So I had to take a test to pass that after also doing an internship, to then turn around and do another internship, but a preliminary licensed one with the state of Florida instead of with any particular, location in the community. So you have to do that for 2 years, a minimum of 2 years, 100 weeks, 1,500 hours. Oh gosh, you have to meet with a supervisor every week. It was a lot. So, and then you also have to take the licensure exam, which I took back in June, and I've just been waiting to get to this point. So I think it was July 16th that I finally got the letter, and today's the 27th. And I'm just so over the moon, so happy for this accomplishment for myself. So if you listen to it, you heard me finally say licensed mental health counselor and not registered mental health counselor intern. Oh my goodness. But if you didn't listen to it, maybe you should go back and hear it just for the joy in my voice. But if not, it's totally fine. I just want to welcome you guys back. If you've never listened before, welcome. Hi. I hope you stay. I hope you like it. And tell me what you think. Today I want to talk about something that's been coming up, not just in my own life, but in conversations with clients, friends, and even the random, I didn't know I needed this post that we kind of quietly all save at 1 a.m., or is that just me? We're talking about mental health in your 30s, because, it's different here. Your 30s kind of sneak up on you, One day you're like vibing at brunch with your 27-year-old metabolism and really questionable coping skills. And the next, you're 32, staring into the void of your ceiling fan at 11 p.m. because your nervous system said, yeah, let's unpack your entire childhood right now. So if you can relate, if you understand, hi, welcome. If you're not quite in your 30s, it should still be worth a listen, because you're going to get here eventually anyway. Also, normally the house is super quiet when I am doing my podcast, with the exception of this damn chair that I sit in for some reason. This bitch is always loud, but if you hear some stuff going on in the background, my apologies. It's the walls are thin, okay? So let's jump into my disclaimer and then we will get into the topic. As always, while my podcast is meant to spark reflection and curiosity, it's not a replacement for therapy. If you're navigating heavy emotions or challenges, please reach out to a professional. Therapy is a safe space to process and grow. And if you noticed, I didn't have an episode last week. You are not imagining things. I haven't been feeling well. I was under the weather, and I just didn't have it in me. There was no way. I sat down on Monday, I tried to do it, couldn't do it. Sat down on Tuesday, all I got was as far as changing my intro. And so here we are on Sunday. So there's that. All right, so let's talk about why the hell this didn't feel like a big deal in your 20s. Let's be so honest about our 20s for a second, because most of us were too busy surviving the 20s, really, to just realize how much we were bypassing mentally and emotionally. There's this illusion in your 20s that you're supposed to be chasing every fucking thing. Careers, relationships, degrees, aesthetics, vibes. There's no real pause to ask yourself, wait, am I actually okay? Because you are too busy trying to become someone. You literally are out from under your parents' wing, more than likely, and just trying to build the life that everybody tells you that you need to have. When you're constantly chasing the next thing, the mental fog, the anxiety, the relationship patterns, the insomnia, it all kind of blurs into, I'm just stressed. Or this is what being in your 20s is like. And honestly, a lot of people say that. Oh, it's just your 20s. It's just your 20s. That's what it's like in your 20s. So a lot of us coasted through that decade, half dissociated, low-key anxious, and sometimes deeply unwell. But cute about it, Like just emotionally unraveling in a fun outfit. You weren't ignoring your mental health on purpose. You didn't have the space to really listen. Most of us didn't even know what listening looked like. We thought healing was a Pinterest board, or a beach vacation, or finally blocking that one ex. It's okay. We didn't know. So why does it all catch up to you in your 30s? Well, here's one thing that nobody tells you about when you get to your 30s. The noise gets quieter. Not necessarily externally. Like, you might still have responsibilities, people tugging at you, decisions that feel massive. Maybe you got kids. But internally, there's this moment where something shifts. Distractions that used to work do not hit the same. The urgency to prove yourself is starting to fade. And suddenly, there's room. And in that room, everything you didn't process starts to rise to the surface. It's going to look like old wounds, subtle grief, the fact that you don't know how to rest without guilt, the realization that your people-pleasing wasn't kindness. It was fear of rejection. The weird anxiety that you always had, but chalked it up to being just busy, just school. It all comes forward like, hey, so are you ever going to deal with me? Or... Because your brain and your body, they're finally not in full-blown survival mode 24/7. It actually has the capacity to start unpacking things. Unfortunately for you, that often feels like a breakdown. I mean, it's not. It's an opening, but it's a loud one. And to be real with you, there is grief of realizing that you have not been okay for a long time. And I don't really think that we talk about the grief that hits you in your 30s, because you're like, holy shit, how long have I been struggling? And how normal did that feel for so long? Like when you start therapy, you say something super casual, like, well, I've always been the one who keeps it together. And your therapist pauses like, And that pause alone is enough to crack you open. Because what do you mean, Now you're starting to connect the dots. Now you see how exhausted you've been. You notice how you always had to shrink yourself in relationships. You realize how many parts of your personality were actually survival instincts. And a lot of people go, I don't know who the hell I am anymore. Or the opposite. I finally know who the hell I am. Because before it was survival. And it's not just sadness, it's a mourning. We literally mourn for the version of us who had to carry it all silently. For the younger me, for the younger you, who deserved better support, but didn't get it. For the years that went by, where you truly believed this was just who you were. And that's the insane part. When I may have said this before, I'm sure I have actually. When I was 26, I knew exactly who the hell I was. I was like, there is no more question. People are going to receive who they're going to receive. I am going to do the things that make me happy. And I was right. And to be so real, I got to that place before some other people, but it didn't matter. It was just me having the ability to listen to myself a little bit more. But now that I'm 32, turned 32 in January, I'm a completely different person again. And they tell you that as you go through the years, they're like, oh, well, wait till you get to your 30s, wait till you get to your 40s, wait till you get to your 50s. And you just keep changing. And the funny part about it is, it's a good thing that you change. I don't believe for a second that we are the same person that we were 6 months ago. Not if you've been growing, not if you've been paying attention to your needs, not with the way of the world right now. We're not even going to get into that. But we're not even the same people. We've had to adapt. We've had to change. We've started to listen to what our needs are. You know, I've said plenty of times I jump back into doing things I haven't done since childhood. I'm a completely different me now, and I love that. So even though the slowing seems scary, I embraced it. I welcomed it. Because if I am not the main character in my life, who is? If I don't get to take time for me to understand what I need to understand, the changes I need to go through, whose life am I living? Who else am I living for? Now I know who I am. And you know, the good news is your 30s are not too late. It's actually kind of perfect timing because you know yourself better now. You know what time you like to eat. You know what you like to eat. You know the activities you like to do. Sorry, I can't go out. I just opened a yogurt. I fucking love that commercial. And like, you're not gonna do those things. You don't chase chaos the same way. You might still crave it sometimes. You know? Go shake your butt a couple weekends. Wake up feeling like you're 55. But you know, you catch it faster. You know what peace feels like now, even if you're still learning how to hold on to it. Healing in your 30s doesn't look like becoming perfect. It just looks like honesty. Finally being honest with yourself. Learning to say no without having to explain it. Like choosing to rest without needing to earn it. Feeling your feelings before they explode, not after. Finding friendships when you're not the emotional laborer anymore. Finally going to therapy. Or returning to therapy with eyes wide open. Because I've even had clients who, they went as kids. They went when they were in college. And now they're in their 30s. They're like, oh my God, this is the first time I'm actually enjoying it. Oh my God, this is the first time I'm actually ready for a lot of these conversations. It looks like staying in your body when it's uncomfortable and not blaming yourself for not knowing these things sooner. Because none of this makes you behind. It just makes you awake now. And I know in this podcast in general, I've talked a lot about becoming. Because that, as people, is what we are. You know, maybe your 30s have been confronting. And I just want to say welcome. Like, you are finally at a place where your mind and your body feel safe enough to ask for more. More truth, more stability, more depth, more rest, and for fuck's sake, more realness. And that request, the thing that is quiet and sometimes it's painful and it's tugging you towards something deeper, it's not a sign of failure. It's a sign of readiness. You are ready to take on any of these things. Your 30s might not look like what you expected, but they might be the first time that you're actually meeting yourself fully without the mask, without the noise. And that's not to say, again, that some people aren't still smack dab in the middle of hanging on to masks, but you're realizing that you've been wearing one this entire time and you finally want to do something about it. It's weird. It's tender. It's fucking lonely sometimes. But it's yours. And I promise it's worth it. I know this episode wasn't long. And you know, the length doesn't always determine the message. I didn't feel like I needed to draw this one out in particular, but it is something that I want to continue the conversation on. So if you've been feeling heavy lately, if you've been feeling tired, unmotivated, more emotional than usual, you feel like everything is shifting and your old patterns are not working the same, you are not crazy. You're just finally seeing it. You're finally open. And Mercury is in retrograde. Okay, it's in Gatorade again. like I said, I just want to stick with this topic for a little bit because there really is so much more here. So in the next episode, I'm going to be talking about what it means when you didn't grow up with the language for this. Like how hard it is to name your needs when nobody ever showed you how. But for now, this is where I'm going to leave this topic. I hope that this helped normalize the way that you feel today. If you're approaching your 30s, seriously, welcome. If it feels scary, you're not alone, dude. Talk about it. Talking about it makes it so much more normal. Because I can almost guarantee you, whoever you talk to is going to know just what you mean. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Mild Moodcast. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. If you have any burning questions or topics you'd like me to cover, don't hesitate to reach out. You can find me on YouTube at Mild Moodcast and Instagram at Mild Mood Therapy. Let's keep the conversation going and continue to explore the wonderful world of mental health together. Until next time, stay curious and keep smiling.